Yeah, it is. It is both ways. Okay. All right, we are not going to establish the difference between aunt and aunt, but we can establish the range of the graphs in interval notation. Okay, so Isaac, stop playing with that and pay attention to me. All right. So no matter which graph I do, sine or cosine, so range is it x or y, first of all? It's y. And if it's y, what's the lowest number on a sine and cosine graph? -1, and the tallest number is 1. So no matter what you do for sine and cosine, it's from -1 to 1. Okay. So our sine and cosine is from -1 to 1. What is the range of my tangent? I want the range of the tangent, bottom to top. If you're going to do bottom to top, what would it be? It would be the infinities, right? So it's -infinity to infinity for tangent. Every time, no matter what the equation is, -infinity to infinity. Always, for the range. Okay? Now, if I have -1 to 1, so to come up with my new range, I have 2 and -3, and those affect my y values. So am I going to multiply by 2, or am I going to add, subtract 3? Multiply first and then subtract. So 2 times -1 is -3, -5. And then the 1, if I put the 1 times 2 is 2 minus 3. So my new range is -5 to -1. Yes. 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 And then the back, subtract or add or subtract. Okay? All right. So that is for the range. What is the next one asking? Amplitude. Where does the amplitude come from? Is it ever negative? So on the first one, is the amplitude 4 or -4? Well, stop writing -4 on your quizzes then. It's a 4. What's the amplitude? You can write 0.25 or a fourth. Either one, it's the same. What about the amplitude on number 3? It's none because it's tangent. Okay, so number 3, it asks for the maximum value. Is maximum going to be x or y? It's y, because the maximum is up and down. It couldn't be x. It's the y. So what is the maximum value of every sine and cosine? So on this one, you only have to do the 1, not even the -1 this time. So for instance, the maximum for number 2, 3 times 1 is 3, minus 4, -1. What's 1 times 1? The period of each function. The period of each function. So if it's, okay, so let's write it down. So if it's the cosine of x or the sine of x, it's 2 pi. And tangent of x is pi.
How do you know when to use pi or when to use the... Because it has theta.
All right. So, to find the period, I take one of these and divide by the number in front of x every time. So, the first one is cosine. So, it's an x, so I use 2 pi. What's the number in front of x? So, it's 2 pi. So this is theta, so I'm using 360. I'm going to divide by the number in front of theta, which is 2, so I get 180. What do I divide by on number 4? What is in front of the x? 2 pi. So 2 pi divided by 2 pi is 1. Sine of 1, so what is the, I'm going to use 2 pi. What is the number in front of x? 1/3. So you flip that and you take 2 pi times 3 over 1, which is 6 pi. Now, if I want to know the phase shift, so on number 5, I do want to know the phase shift. So if this is pi over 6, what do I have to do to figure out the phase shift here? So how do I do that?
Pi over 6
Divided by 1/3, which becomes what? Becomes 3 over 1, right? So I have 3 pi over 6, which is pi over 2. And it's a negative pi over 2, right? Because the x's lie. Okay, somebody asked me on number 6. So what is the number in front of theta? So it's like 1/2. Right. So it's theta, which is 180 divided by 1/2, which becomes 360. All right, on the back. So this time I want the phase shift. The phase shift comes from inside the parentheses. So are there any parentheses on number 1? So is there a phase shift? No. Okay, number 2. Is the number in front of x inside the parentheses or out? Before you can do the phase shift, you have to divide. So this is the sine of 2x plus 5. So what's the phase shift? -5. And if you're not writing the negatives, you're getting them wrong. So the phase shift on number 3. Positive pi over 4. Okay, the vertical shift. No. You can do 5. I can't do all of the fraction ones for you, then you don't have anything to practice. Vertical shift. Vertical is up and down. So what's the vertical shift on number 1? I think almost everybody got these right. Not everybody, but almost. Okay, well, you can put the arrows, but if it's a +7, which way does it go? Up. If it's a -4, which way does it go? Down. So the next one asks for horizontal stretch or compression. Horizontal stretch or compression. What is this the same as?
Oh, amplitude.
Amplitude.
Except for tangent.
Okay. So, first of all, what is this one? 1 or none. Either one. I'm not counting either one of those wrong. So what about number 2? It's 1 because it's not negative. Number 3. It's 1. So they are. I don't, that's stupid. You guys, wait, no. No. It's not the same as the amplitude. Oh my gosh. I know. I'm not going to stop the video. I'm like, wait, why are these all none? Yes. So this, oh my gosh. The horizontal, no wonder you're all failing. You have a sucky teacher. All right. So horizontal stretch or compression is the number in front of the x. It's the b is the same. I think somebody said, yeah, somebody said amplitude, and I'm like, yeah, well, yeah, that's right. I'm going with that, sure. No, it's the b. Okay. So the number in front of x is 2. Now, we're writing down 2 because that's the number we're using to find the period. What is this really? It's really a half. It's a horizontal compression of a half. We're not writing that because all of you mess up the period if we write that down. So what's the number in front of x? 3. Again, a horizontal compression of a third. What is the number in front of theta this time? 1/4. So, does tangent have a horizontal stretch or compression? It does because we have x values. It doesn't have amplitude, but it can have a stretch and a compression. So, what's the number in front of x on number 4? 5. Okay, does everybody, do I need to continue yelling or we're good? Okay. So, the last one we're going to do, if you weren't paying attention, you need to now, okay? So, is the given point contained on the graph of the function? So they gave us a point, and they gave us a function, and I want to know, is this point on this function? And here's how you're going to do it. You're going to take your x, and you're going to plug the x in. So I have 2 sine of 2 pi. So I'm almost afraid to ask. So I'm going to take a deep breath first. Yeah. On the unit circle, what is the sine value at 2 pi? Thank you. So, okay. So look, Bruno, what is the point right here? What is the point? It's 1, 0. Sine is the y value, so it's 0. So the sine of 2 pi is 0. 0 times 2 is that the y value they gave you? Yes. So that point is on the graph. So this is a yes. I can. I'll do number 4. So this is minus sine of 3 pi over 2. So again, the sine is which value? X or y? Y. So at 3 pi over 2, I have 0 and negative 1. So the sine of 3 pi over 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. So does that match? So that is a yes. Yeah. I'm not doing another. Okay. So you're going to finish this and you're going to do this. So what about the white? Okay, the graphing 2 I'm going to take on Monday. I should already have graphing 1, but if I don't, I haven't graded it, so I'll take it. And if you have, And if you have the buff colored still, you can turn that in too.